Alright, today we're going to do TPCASTT, the method for poetry analysis. So what is TPCASTT? Well, very simply, it's a formulated approach to poetry analysis that, if used properly, should help you understand almost any poem. So what does it stand for? Well, pretty simple. Let's write these down real quick. It stands for title, paraphrase, connotation, attitude, shifts, title, yes again, and theme. So we're going to get started and define every one of these things and tell you what to do for each one before we use our example. Alright, so first of all, with the title, first thing you want to do is just look at it. Look at it. Don't try to be all artistic and read into it. You'll just simply write down your initial impressions. Simply write down initial thoughts. What do you think it means? Any guesses to the poem just by this title? Or anything along those lines? Whoops. Okay. This step is important as your initial impression of the title versus your final impression can reveal a lot about the poem itself. It's true. Alright, next up you're going to paraphrase. Paraphrase means that you're trying to simply translate. So you're translating the poem. So that means you're trying to exchange archaic words for modern words. You're also trying to deal with the syntax. A lot of poetry uses inverted syntax. So that means that it's opposite of what it normally means. So the words are jumbled up. So you would have to put them back in order and essentially create a story. Don't skip lines when you're doing this. Or words. Use every single thing that's there. Make sure the phrasing of the poem makes complete sense before moving on. Also, during this time, you want to think about the speaker. A lot of times, the speaker isn't necessarily the poet himself. It's actually something else or somebody else. Typically, the speaker is just a man or a young child. They may be either of those, but more important than who they are is what are they going through. You want to be thinking about that as you're reading the poem. Once you start getting into it, start wondering, well, what led the poet to start writing about this? What do you think might have led the poet to start wanting to write about death or something along those lines? All right, moving on, we have connotation. Connotation is an idea or feeling that a word evokes or brings or gives in addition to its literal meaning. Establishing the connotation of significant words in the poem is extremely helpful. You want to look for words that cause an emotional reaction or strong reaction in you. Sorry, I ran out of room there. It's reaction if you need me to repeat it. Or that they stand out because it's unusual language or unusual punctuation. So that's what you're looking for here. Or if they appear to be related to the title of the subject of the poem. So you want to identify these words and determine their significance by examining the type of feelings they evoke, how they reflect the subject, and why the speaker is using that specific word instead of another. Moving on, we have attitude. Typically, once you get to the connotation, you'll be able to reveal and understand the attitude of the speaker. Remember, though, the speaker and the poet may not be the same person. So if you're reading a poem about a large insult about somebody or something, it may not be the poet actually giving that insult, but this speaker, this character the poet has created. So you want to think about however, though, poets often write about experiences that they know, so knowing a bit about their background may help, and sometimes we'll give that to you in class. We're not necessarily giving that to you with Shakespeare, so you have to find that on your own. You'll reflect on the connotations you found. In order to figure out this, you want to look at word choice. For example, if words and phrases such as wagging tail, eager, loyal, and man's best friend are used, you're probably safe to assume that the speaker has a positive attitude towards the subject, which is dogs. Alright, now we're moving on to shifts. Identifying shifts are characterized most often by change in mood, or tone. But there are some things to look out for shifts. You're looking for a new stanza. That reveals a shift. Transition words, such as but, yet, however, but there's plenty more. Changes in diction, which you may not catch, but that's okay. That just means word choice. The change in a speaker, if he goes from nice to all of a sudden angry. Or unusual punctuation, such as dashes. Ooh, not spelling that, so think of dashes. Those will help you find them. Often the first section of a poem prepares the reader for the theme, and after a shift, the true theme is revealed. Next up, you're going over the title. Now that you've done analyzing the poem, you're wanting to re-examine the title. Before, it was just surface level interpretation. Now that you can apply everything you've seen about the poem so far to give a new in-depth interpretation of the title. So you want to look over your original guess, and see if you still agree. If you disagree, so if disagree with your original statement, try and tell me why. Why? Explain why you disagree. What has been revealed now? And does the title use any poetic devices itself? Does it use figurative language? If so, tell me which one and try and figure out why. Or what is it comparing to, such as if it's a metaphor. Finally, you're going to be looking for the theme. This is essentially the heart of the poem. The theme usually relates to a universal truth. So the theme is best stated in a sentence form. So now keep in mind, you're looking for an actual full sentence for the theme, not just one word. So if you think the theme is about love, well, what is it saying about love? Alright, real quickly now. This is when you start using what's the subject, answering the question, what's the subject, who is the speaker, is there more than one speaker, and their attitude, how does the poet use diction. All that stuff will help you identify the theme. So everything you've done up to this point. So now we're going to use an example from Sonnet 116 from Shakespeare. So here's the hint, grab it now. I'm going to read it real quickly. Let me not to arraign to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is a star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. So first of all, we're looking at the title. Well, there's not much for a title. It's just a sonnet 116. We know it's the 116th poem, so that means Shakespeare's done a lot, so that means he understands it. And we know it's a sonnet, so we know that there's going to follow specific rules. So now, we got to paraphrase it. Well, for this time around, we're going to have to go through this very incredibly quickly. But the idea is, you look through every single sentence. So find a pause, such as a comma or period. And that's when you know to start translating. So let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. So, when it comes to true marriage, I don't want to admit impediments, which are problems. So you're going over every single one of these words. What is impediments? Well, it's problems. So I don't want to reveal problems. Which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. So alter means to change. So that's another word, is change. So which changes when it finds other changes, or bends with the remover to remove. So remover is the other person that leaves. So love does not change. Love does not leave when another leaves, or moves when another leaves. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. So no, it doesn't do all this. It is an ever fixed point. So it's a fixed mark. It's a point that looks to tempests, which means storms, and is not shaken. It is not afraid of storms. It can go past them. It is a star to every wandering bark. A bark is a ship. So it is a guiding light for ships, for wandering ships, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. So love's worth is unknown, but you can measure its height. Love's not time's fool. So that means that love, of course, doesn't mess with time. It doesn't change over time, even though rosy lips and cheeks do. So even though we age, love does not. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. So that there's that alter again. So it doesn't change within brief moments, but it stays until the edge of doom. So it bears it out. It even goes further. Finally, if this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. So if this be error, if I'm proved wrong, that this is wrong, I have never written, which is writ, nor has no man ever loved. So that's the paraphrase. And so all you're doing is translating words. You're finding old words or words that are big words and you want to make them smaller. Moving on to connotation. Real quickly, connotation. You notice that love is used a lot. So the word love invokes specific feelings in people. Also, it is unchangeable. It mentions that a lot. It's unchangeable. So it reflects upon the idea that love is everlasting. At the same time, we can think about the speaker. We know it's a man who is telling someone else about love, or about what love truly is. Now let's move on to the attitude. Obviously, through this stuff, it's saying love is strong, love is powerful, so that means the attitude is positive. This person, this speaker, likes love or enjoys it. Now, more importantly, we're looking at the shifts. Like I said, you want to be on the lookout for new stanzas or different changes in words. Good news with sonnets, it's very easy to find shifts. You go to each stanza. So after each quatrain, you have the next shift. So after line 4, there's a shift. After line 9, 8, there's a shift. After line 10, there's a shift. There's actually 4 shifts in this one. 3 are from change in stanzas. 1 is because of transition word, but it bears out even to the edge of doom. That's transition word, but. So those are our shifts. So what is the purpose of the shifts? Well, it continues to bring home the point about love. So moving on, we've got the title again. Well, once again, since this isn't an actual title, there's not much we can really say. We know we're right about it being a sonnet. So hey, we don't really have to say much there. But now we got to look upon the theme. So we got to figure out, we got to answer some questions. We know it's going to be a universal truth. So what is the subject? It's the first question we have to answer. That's love. Who is talking about it? Who? It's a man who is professing love. Or they're explaining it. So, and they're saying, how are they saying it? By saying, that's the next thing you say, it will never change, no matter what. So what's the theme? What's the universal truth? Love is never unchangeable. Love, it will always be there, no matter what. So, in conclusion, we have TPCASTT. TPC, so TPCAST, or TCAST, or TPCAST. So yours, once again, the title, paraphrase, which means translate, connotation, which you're looking for the feelings, the diction, the idea of the word, attitude, what does the speaker feel towards this subject, shifts, so you're looking for these shifts to know when things change around, if there's going to be any differences between the lines. Title again, and then finally theme. Tomorrow you're going to need to use this so you can translate the other 3 sonnets that we've read in class. All right, thank you for listening.